welcome to my newest video. I'm finally back. So this time around we look at the face in 1/35 scale. So this is a tank commander for my Panther that I've recently painted, and I tried to record it as good as possible because I thought maybe some people would be interested in how to somewhat realistically paint a face at that scale. So let's start with the colors. You see I have a dark brown color, a red color, somewhat ochre skin tone color, and a somewhat more salmony, rosy color, ivory, and a blue tone. So first of all, the colors as such don't matter that much, because we're gonna mix a lot to get the skin tones that we actually want. So I started off by mixing a darker skin tone, and I start to apply this into the shadow areas of the face. As you can see, I follow basically the chin and the cheekbones with this, and basically what you do is you follow the natural contours of the face, and I like to let a small space between the cheekbones and the chin area. As you can see, it's still gray, to emphasize this area a bit more. You will see later on how this will turn out. This is actually a trick I learned by watching some videos Eric Swinson did a while ago, painting Space Marine faces, and I think if you do this a bit more subtle, it also does very well on scale miniatures. So as I said, just apply the dark color where naturally a shadow would form on the face, and also especially on the back of the head. I forget to do this at this stage, but it also would make sense to immediately paint the area under the eyes. I do that later on. You can also do it later on. Doesn't matter that much at this stage, but generally it is easier if you do it just now when you're doing the rest of the shadows or darker areas. So as you can see, there are some artifacts in the video. I will fix this later. There will be a cut in a few minutes, and then I fixed this. Basically, it was my capture card that made some problems, but I could fix them pretty fast, and the rest of the video will be fine. There will be no artifacts. So yeah, here was the cut, and as you can see, after applying the darker tone for the darker parts of the face, I mixed a somewhat lighter tone, mostly with the ochre and salmony color, and I will now apply this at the parts of the face that should be a bit lighter. Try to emphasize the areas of the face that would naturally be directly on the skull, so just somewhat highlight the natural geometry, or the natural geometry is probably the wrong word for it. Shape. Try to follow the natural shape of the face, or pretty much of the skull beneath. I use only IONIC Smart Colors in this video. because I very much like them. I've started experimenting and using them a bit mid of last year, and I have to say I've tried a lot of paint ranges since I've started painting, and so far I have to say those IONIC Smart paints are really very good paints, and I like them a lot. They're maybe not the easiest if you switch from maybe Citadel or Vallejo paints, because they're a bit more creamy, but I think they blend very, very well, and I like to paint with them a lot since I've bought my few first, and yeah, would definitely recommend them to you also. So now I'm mixing an in-between between the shadow color and the lighter color. Try to mix them directly from the palette, but this is unfortunately something that does not always work very well with these IONIC Smart paints. At least on my wet palette, they tend to dry very fast when you thin them out, but still enjoy them a lot. This in-between mix will be now used to blend the areas between the lighter and the darker colors. This is still the sketch phase, so don't worry, you don't have to be too neat, but try to keep this area as neat as possible. Unfortunately, I'm a few times out of frame in this video because it was very hard to get the face always in frame. 1/35 scale is still very small, and I have the camera completely zoomed in. There will be also some autofocus issues. Yeah, as I said, try to be as neat as possible at this stage, and especially make sure that the color you apply is very opaque. And yeah, as I said, also I will be unfortunately a few times out of frame while painting, and some things I couldn't capture at all with the camera, unfortunately, like the eyeballs later on, and the pupils, and also some other stuff. It's unfortunately not possible with my setup, and yeah, I'm completely zoomed in at this stage with the camera, and there will be also some minor autofocus issues. I'm very sorry for that, but I hope you still can see pretty much everything that is important and enjoy the video. I know you see I right now paint the area right under the eyes and make it a lot darker. It will look a bit wonky on the right side of his face, but we can correct that later on. Yeah, the more reddish tones are especially very useful in the areas around the nose, the bridge of the nose, under the nose, and of course you can also use it for the lips and mouth area. And this might look a bit wrong at first, but later on, when we have all the areas together and the colors at the right spot, then I promise you it looks very good. So now you can see I have the red color, and will go around the nose and also around the triangle that the mouth forms. At this stage, I over apply a bit of the red on one side of the face, but later this will be also fixed with the regular skin tone. So at this stage, don't be afraid. You can fix everything, even if you go a bit too hard with one color or another. You will be able to balance it out pretty much at a later stage. So now I'm mixing an even lighter tone for the face. And basically this will be used to highlight the parts that will be naturally a lot lighter, like the forehead, the cheekbones, the bridge of the nose, the point of the nose. And I would say this would probably be somewhat like the mid-tone of the face area, or maybe a tad lighter than the mid-tone, but you will see when we are finished. This lighter tone can also be used for the low chin area and also for the part directly under the nose for the upper lips. Now mixed a slightly rosy, lighter color for the cheeks. This gives the face just a slight more natural look. If you have more color in the cheekbones or the cheekbone area, and also in the upper lip or mouth area. Later on we will also incorporate the blue-gray tone, and you will see what effect this will have on the parts where we apply it. So here we're going to the next highlight stage, and this is pretty self-explanatory, since what we're gonna do is make the parts we made lighter still a bit more lighter. And yeah, unfortunately my head was in the frame. As you can see, it's already very finicky. Just make sure that the parts where you apply the paint are, the area is basically a bit smaller than what you have painted before. It's a bit out of focus, but I'm sure you can still see where I applied the paint, and basically at this point it's pretty self-explanatory, because you do the same as you would with any other material pretty much. Basic layering, highlighting. Just make sure that at this stage you're a bit more careful where you apply the paint. So now I'm incorporating the blue tone. It's a blue grayish tone, and I mix it with already very much highlight color, and I'll incorporate this in the mouth, chin and cheekbone area, and this pretty much will give the impression of slight beard stubbles. So if you want to make your person or space marine, for example, clean shaven, then don't do that basically. But for my miniature I thought this would look cool, so I gave it a try. And I'll also do a somewhat darker tone with the blue for the darker areas on the cheekbones, under the cheekbones pretty much. Because of course you still need to have light and shadow in mind when you do this. So you can see I do several mixtures with the blue, because you somewhat have to match the regular colors used for the rest of the face. And yeah, it needs some time to get used to, but I think painting faces this way makes a lot of fun. And I used to hate painting faces, but now for some time I quite enjoy it, and I think the results will make a big difference compared to, for example, the basic base color or flesh tone and wash way of painting faces. And I prefer this more volumetric approach and defining the shapes on the face yourself and having complete control over the colors you are mixing and using. I prefer this a lot to the regular ways people paint faces I've also used before. The more red tone would also be something that you would put into the ears, for example. But in this case, since the tank commander has the headphones directly over the ears, I had no chance of painting them, of course, but if your head or miniature you're painting has ears, then also try to apply somewhat of a red color directly into the ears. As you can see now, I reinforced the part around the mouth, the triangle, and around the nose, again with the red color. This may look a bit too much at this stage, but later on I'll correct it a bit off camera. But I think you can still see the result looks quite good. There are always slight adjustments needed, of course, at any stage. It's not a straightforward process in that way that you have a formula for every part of the face and you just paint it with this exact formula, but this gives you a lot of freedom for defining very certain aspects of the face. Now I've painted the eyeballs in. I used a mixture of ivory and the flesh tone. I couldn't film it, as I said. At this stage it probably makes sense to paint in the eyeballs, and now I'll continue with creating a tone for the pupils, which I'll also paint in off camera, because I wouldn't be able to film this with my current setup. Yeah, pupils are always the most scariest part, and I think it's okay to just yeah, let's say not paint them perfectly at your first try. This is perfectly fine. You can go over with the light eyeball color and correct it at any time, and yeah, it's a part where I still also struggle a lot with. Now I'll show you a picture of the finished miniature. I've also recorded the part for the camo jacket, and I'll see if the video is good enough for me to put it also on YouTube. You can also see that I've painted in the rest of the head, the cap, and the headphones. But something I couldn't show in the video, which is, in my opinion, very important, is the eyebrows. I've just basically used the same light brown color that I've used for the hair and painted in the eyebrows with it. Be a bit careful at this stage. I had to redo a few parts of the forehead because the paint was a bit too thin, and I flooded some parts. Make sure you mix it to such a degree that it goes off the brush very easily, but won't flood your miniature. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the outcome. Of course, there could be some parts that could still be improved, but I think for around an hour that I invested painting, it came out pretty nice. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the process and you could take some good input from the video, and feel free to tell me if you liked it, and yeah, see you again in the next video.